Howdy folks, thanks for being here. I'm Tim Van Beek with Backcountry Horsemen, and we're going to talk a little bit about an awesome thing that happened over the last couple of years, the Pasayten Wilderness project. So they'll do a little deeper dive, but this is first name.
Sterling.
Landon Decker.
Aaron.
And they'll talk a little bit more about themselves.
There's a microphone there, Sterling, if you want to use that.
Should we use this?
Sure.
I talk loud. I don't think
Okay, I
anyone
do
needs
too.
that. So, Landon, Aaron, Sterling, Tim. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Pasayten Wilderness Project. Awesome work that happened this year. And we're going to start it off with a little video that WTA did. You're going to see someone in this video here eminently.
This coming trip is a joint venture between Backcountry Horsemen of Washington and WTA.
The Lost Trails Found is our work to try to recover the many, many miles of trails that exist in Washington state and are receding back into nature. The Pasayten Wilderness is a huge area that includes over 600 miles of trail. On the Billy Goat Trail and the Larch Creek Trail, we're over 5 years out from these forest fires, but we still see the effects of the burns. Wildfires totally change the geology of a landscape. They also really change the experience of a landscape.
Here since 45 years, so I've climbed all those peaks and been on those trails, and the trails used to be in fabulous shape in the 90s and the turn of the century, and you could look at a map and go down any trail you wanted. You can't do that.
I see this trip as part of a long legacy of hikers and horses working together to build trails in remote parts of Washington. Access to horses and other stock animals allows us to get so much further into the backcountry than we could get as just hikers. They literally take the weight off of our backs. That allowed a group of fairly new hikers to make it all the way to their campsite in one day. It's nothing new. These skills are very similar to the skills people used hundreds of years ago. It's really special to continue to pass those skills on and to see them firsthand from really experienced people who know what they're doing.
12 women signed up, 5 coming from the equestrian world, and then 7 from WTA. This is critical that we have, the trails are open for people, and it's just, in my 34 years of doing this, I've seen how less and less trails are open, so we have to do right. The Forest Service can't take care of all of that, so all the other things need to collaborate together so that we can do that, so people can get out here and enjoy this, because this is where it's at. The work is very physical, but it's very rewarding, and it just makes you feel good. You're lucky to be my age and to be able to do this. Go do trail work for a while. You have never been thanked so often for the work you do. It's a great time spent with friends, and I'm 71 right now, so as long as my body will let me.
I was just so thankful to hear the stories of all of these women who had come before me, and it reminded me that the world has changed a lot in our lifetimes. I do not underestimate the power of representation in my life and the opportunities that it's opened for me. All women's trips provide space for women to try new things without the pressure of having to prove that they should be there. A huge part of what Trails for Everyone means for me is it's not just providing a space that is technically open to everyone, but inviting everyone into that space and continuing that invitation.
want to call attention to Kathy Upper, right there, the young lady in the yellow. So she was on this trip, and Aaron was also on this trip. So they're awesome folks, and a good thing happened. And you're up, Landon.
All right.
Oh no, you got to stand up. So I
I
can
gotta stand up. All right. Is that a microphone too?
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't think I was on.
That was on. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Landon Decker. I'm the Trails and Stock Manager on the Methow Valley Ranger District up in Winthrop, Washington on the Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest. We're here today to talk about the Pasayten Wilderness project, but really something that we talked about in Ellensburg at the BCH Rendezvous this spring is like this Pasayten Wilderness project has been going on for a long time. Granted, PCH and Tim applied for a Legacy Trails grant, and we're doing some of that work right now. This project has been going on for a while, and will continue for a while. The Forest Service is not going anywhere, PNCA is not going anywhere, PCH, WTA. We've been working together for a while in different capacities, and we're going to keep going, doing this under whatever name it is. But this has been really just super exciting. I didn't know who Tim was like 2 years ago, and he just called me and was like, hey, do you want to get a bunch of people out in the Pasayten Wilderness doing trail work? And I was like, let's go. And ever since I've gotten to know Tim, gotten to know everybody here, and really it shows in that video, but that video is perpetuated out by so many people. There's so many people to shout out to that have done awesome trail work out there. And I mean, WTA, BCH, PNTA, PCTA, NYC, Joe Hoffbeck and Diane Hoffbeck, all kinds of folks. Definitely probably missing a lot of people there, but it doesn't just start with one group. And we all have different trails and ideas and different things, but when we put our efforts together, it's been pretty incredible to see what we can do in a changing landscape. Like Kathy said in the video there, like 50% of the Pasayten has burned in the last 20 years, and a lot of that is high severity. This is a 600,000 acre wilderness, so the landscape has changed. And that creates a lot of challenges, but it creates a lot of opportunities to get good with the crosscut, which all of these folks have shown. So, am I moving the slide there? Okay, there's a picture of me doing what I like to do the most is pack horses and go do trail work. So this here is a map that shows the Pasayten Wilderness. There's 600 miles of trail in the Pasayten. There's probably more than that. In actuality, we can only maintain so much, right? Even with all the challenges, the burns and different things, it is impressive what we have been able to accomplish the last couple of years, especially this year. And that starts with the people at this table. Sterling with the PNTA, he's going to chat. They have 2 6-person crews that are packers. We have 24 head of horses and mules. We help support, get them out in the backcountry to do that work. The hike into their first campsite is 20 miles. You're not going to carry a lot of food and do a lot of work unless you get packed in, right? So that's a big theme of all this. This is a really remote place. To do the work successfully, it takes partnership and stock, and that's where BCH comes in, physically doing the work, but also they've been helping pack one of the other 6-person PNTA crews, which is just amazing to see what has been done, getting more crews out there. Without that, I don't know how the work would get done. And of course, our crews are out there. Our trail crew has kind of hovered around 10 people, 2 packers and a ranch hand irrigator, and working alongside PNTA and BCH and WTA at different times. And independently, we find a way to move around all the fires that are happening and all the challenges and get a lot of trail work done. So, yeah, looking at kind of a review this season, just wanted to highlight a couple other things. Jason Ridlin and the Wolverine team, they call themselves. with Kathy and some other folks. They have been out doing some amazing work in the Pasayten, and Tim's probably going to talk about that, but they're dealing with stuff like this, and they're cutting through it. They're getting horses and pack stock back on the trails, which is just incredible when you look at something like that. That's even tough for a hiker. Really good work by those crews, and not only just doing the crosscut work. This year they did some super incredible turnpike work and drainage. That work can't be, forgotten when we're just trying to deal with logs. There's so much other important trail work that they've been doing. So yeah, big highlight for our program, and it's not as common in Washington or as maybe some other places, but we have our stock program. I'd really like to highlight that. It's a really, really neat thing. We have the largest stock program in Region 6 for the Forest Service, and we're really, really proud of this. It's an amazing tool. It's the lifeblood to trail maintenance on our ranger district in this wilderness, the primitive skills, so many different things. And a lot of times I'll meet people who don't realize we have the stock program, so I really want to share that with people. I think it's a cool part of our history with the Forest Service. I think it's a really cool link to connecting with the different crews. I mean, mules make everybody smile, and it's fun to watch people interact with them and get all kinds of fun treats packed into the backcountry. So that's pretty great, and get a lot of trail work done. And with that, we're doing all kinds of work that we have to branch out. There's been just a lot of focus on just logging out the trails. So we've worked with BCH to secure funding for more bridge decking. We built 2 new bridges in the Pasayten this year and redecked some other ones, and really, really cool to see that kind of work happening. This bridge is actually not in the Pasayten, but highlights some of the work that has been done. So, yeah, and just, talking about challenges, spoke to it a little bit. All of our crews are dealing with things like this. So when a trail is not open, it's not because people are not trying. There are people giving it their all out there, and that can take a long time to get through. Especially to get it passable for the pack stock. So yeah, just a little kind of recap. This is some statistics from all of our partners included. So like we said, we got the 600 miles of trail in the Pasayten, and about 250 miles were maintained in 2024. And none of this would be possible without these partnerships, and that's what we're highlighting here today. So thank you to anybody who was a part of this, all these folks, and also to the future folks who are out there who are going to join the trip and come out and help out with this project. And I'll pass it along here to Sterling.
Thanks, Landon.
That picture's pretty old. I have a few more white hairs on my face currently. All right. My name's Sterling. I'm the Western Washington Regional Coordinator for the Pacific Northwest Trail Association. So I coordinate work with 3 forests, 2 national parks, and state land from the Okanagan Valley to the Olympic Coast. And we put half of our Western Washington workforce into the Pasayten every summer. So it's 12 folks working from June. And in fact, a couple of extra go-getters just came out on Wednesday. Landon and his team packed them out, and they were cold. They were up on the Pacific Crest Trail, PNT Junction at Holman Pass, working down towards Ross Lake. Every year those crews go out there, and like Landon said, it's a full day's hike just to get in there, and so we could not do it without all the support of the partners, Forest Service, Backcountry Horsemen, WTA, other folks, and it really is a testament to what teamwork can accomplish. Our crews cut off 1,000 to 2,000 logs every summer off the Boundary Trail, which is the PNT. It kind of comes, it's right up under the border, that's why they call it the Boundary Trail. And it's the longest unbroken stretch of PNT. Yep, those are my co-workers.
How about one more and you'll get a map?
So yeah, you know, my region starts kind of there by Loomis, Oroville Loomis, and it goes west, and right up where it's underneath the border is the Boundary Trail, and gosh, I want to say 60, 70 miles before it ties into the Pacific Crest Trail, heads 11 miles south, and then goes 20 miles down to Ross Lake in North Cascades National Park. And this year was great, relatively light log load, and I think our crews, you know, were closer to 1,000, but 2 years ago it was close to 2,000 trees. We've got seasonal staff. I hire most of my folks to kind of align with the college summer break. So they come on in mid-June and work steadily until school starts up in the fall, typically at the end of August. But then there's always a handful that either school starts later, or they're done with school, or they're taking a break or whatever, and they go on, and some of them, yeah, even go into middle of October. So really proud of how hard those folks work. Those are all direct hires. You know, we don't contract out. We pay them, you know, well above minimum wage and provide all their food. And they get to spend summer in places like this, which is sure beautiful, but yeah, you know, the hazards of the Pasayten are real, be it smoke, bugs, sharp crosscuts, having me or Tim chew them out for not hiking fast enough or what have you. But yeah, you know, we couldn't do it without Landon and his team at the forest at the Metcalfe Valley. They're so helpful, and the folks at BCH, Daryl, you and Tim and Kathy and Dana all are part of the team to get us where we need to be with our tools and our food, and that way they're not eating, you know, just Mountain House or whatever. They get real, actual produce out there. And they work hard, and so they eat a lot of calories, as anyone who's done trail work can attest. So yeah, by all accounts, it was a really great year this year, as it has been for the last few. We started making real progress on the Devil's Ridge Trail down towards Ross Lake. So we're really happy with that. That's kind of been a spot where maintenance has been deferred because it's the highest, so it's the last place to melt out. But typically it's one of the first to burn too, is that west end of the Pasayten, just because there's more fuel in there. And but that's where the work is the most needed as well, because it has all burned relatively recently, and the trees come down over the winter. And you know, I really am just proud of all the folks that have worked for us. Some of them are even in this room, and they go on to work for the Forest Service. What was the dude's name who became a wilderness ranger? Michael. Yeah, Michael, he was a crew lead for us last year, went on to work as a wilderness ranger in the Pasayten, and it's really that sort of story that makes my job worth it. Not that cutting logs isn't satisfying, but you know, seeing these folks come from either no or very little sort of backcountry experience camping and maybe even zero trail work to being rugged outdoors people by the end of the summer and stewards of our public lands and going on to work every year. I would say, you know, 3, 4, 5 of my folks go off and get, you know, positions with the Forest Service or the Park Service all over the country. Some of them go on to work for WTA, field leaders for WCC. So it really is so rewarding, and you know, moving forward, I just hope we can continue to do the good work and even up the number of crews we put out there, up, you know, the number of trips we have packed in. We do hope, we are always expanding our volunteer program, but just because the Boundary Trail is so far from the trailhead, we don't currently have volunteer trips into the Pasayten, but maybe that will change, you know. Depending on any number of things, we would like to get more folks out there engaged in the Pacific Northwest Trail. So if anybody wants to talk about ways you can get involved, We have a lot of day projects over near more populous places like Puget Sound, and then in eastern Washington, my counterpart, Kristen Ackerman, she does a lot of great work on the Colville National Forest. So please get involved. Like I said this morning, we are America's newest national scenic trail, and as a result, there's a lot of work to be done. We're going to start the process of analyzing every mile of trail this year and figuring out, does it meet the criteria of a national scenic trail or not? And if it does, great, we'll leave it, as we will probably 99% of it in the Pasayten. But other places where it's on a road or just not in the best spot, we're going to move it. We'll be building new trail. We'll be, doing road to trail conversions, all that kind of good stuff. So please check us out. We've got an office in Cedro Woolley, and I'll be around all weekend. So hopefully, if you're enthusiastic about that other national scenic trail in Washington, not the Pacific Crest Trail, I can answer your questions. We've got a question. Yes.
Do you have any clue how many people are hiking the PNT though?
I have a clue. We typically say there's about 100 through hikers every year, but there are tens of thousands of day hikers, and some of them have no idea they're on a national scenic trail, and by some I probably mean most. Because around Bellingham and the Puget Sound there are quite a few sections of road walk, and we're having some issues with our signing at the moment, our service mark and everything. So it's not advertised as well as it will be soon, but with the comprehensive management plan getting signed, and these roadwalks getting eliminated and the route getting nailed down, we will be advertising more readily that we are the Pacific Northwest Trail. They do self-report, and a lot of people aren't on social media or whatever, but we say between 100 and 120 over the last 3 or 4 years, I think. Cool. Thank you all, and thank you to these folks up here who make it all happen. It's one of the most fun things I do in my job is working with these two and our seasonal staff.
All right, thanks for that. Hi, my name's Erin. I gotta say, watching yourself on the big screen in front of a group of people is a real trip. It'll really make you blush. So nice to be up here and speaking for myself, but I work for WTA. I am the multi-day trip coordinator, so I currently coordinate all of the multi-day volunteer trips that happen in the Okanagan-Wenatchee Forest. Sorry, it's echoing a little. So that is all the way from Methow down to Natchez. And WTA staff and crew leaders. I tried to pull out all of the staff that are here this weekend. There are a lot of us. There's also some volunteer crew leaders in this room right now, so we're happy to represent. And the type of work that we do at WTA, it's kind of broadly 4 categories of work. So we have day work parties year-round all over the state. We have youth work parties, both day and multi-day. Multi-day backcountry trips, this is my bread and butter, and those are sort of divided into 2 categories. BCRTs, volunteer vacations. Either way, it's people camping and doing trail work for a couple days. And then we do have 3 professional crews. We call them our Lost Trails Found crew. This is our staff from this year. And this is our 3rd year of having a professional crew. So all in all, we work with mostly volunteers, but we're also branching into professional trail work. And I just wanted to highlight some of the projects we've done in the Pasayten. Starting with our Lost Trails Found crew, I think one of the ways that WTA has really found success in working with Landon and working with these other agencies is kind of finding the trails we can come back to year after year. We can, learn from our mistakes, we can continue to make progress, and I think seeing as it is such a remote wilderness area far in one corner of the state, it's nice to kind of build some experience even if we're only there for 1 or 2 weeks every year. So the Hidden Lakes Trail is goes off the Billy Goat Trailhead, and here's one of the many before and after pictures. And some stats. Our LTF crew loves to collect statistics, so I like to show them off. Yeah, over 3 years of trips, we've just made more and more progress, and at this point, Landon, I believe the Hidden Lakes Trail is pretty much logged out.
Yeah, we got
at
it
this
logged
point.
out.
Yeah, so,
Woo!
yeah. There's more tread work to be done, and that'll come in the future, but yeah, just 6-person crews. This is our first ever LTF crew here, and the amount of work we've done in really just 21 days of work. It's pretty cool. And then another project we've done for several years, over 10 years, I believe, is taking volunteers out to the Pasayten airstrip. And this is a really glamorous project as far as our trips go because there is a cabin, historic airstrip out there, and the Forest Service supports us every year by packing our crew out. In the past, we used to access this trail via Canada, which was sort of a logistical nightmare, but also a really fun way to get into a trail work project. And yes, in the past few years, we've really been focusing on the Rock Creek Trail. We have some stats as well. And I think this is just a cool example of, it's a 16-mile hike into this cabin. So it's one of the most remote volunteer trips we do, I think the most remote. But we have very dedicated volunteers, Lisa Black and Jim Langdon. They are some pretty dedicated crew leaders who come back year after year. And we have found a challenge of this is if we can't make it out one year, the number of trees that fall, we end up having to cut them again. So we're really trying to build consistency, but it's really cool when we can string those together year after year. And then this, I just wanted to call out to another project we do year after year. This is not in the Pasayten Wilderness, but it is a neighboring wilderness. And these are, every year we have at least 2 trips. This year we had a ton of work up the Twist River Road. And I think it's just another highlight of what collaboration can look like. If we can take some of this wilderness log out off of Forest Service crews every year, they can really focus their expertise on going up to the Pasayten and doing other projects. And Twist River too, this is another place where we collaborate heavily with Backcountry Horsemen, who do a lot of the non-wilderness log out as well as the wilderness log out up here. So just wanted to call this out as another way that volunteer groups can support Forest Service projects. And then another thing that WTA is really proud of that we've gotten to do in the Pasayten is our shared identity trips. So the all-women's trip that we did this year that you saw the video of, this is our most recent example. But we really like to provide shared identity spaces, whether that can be all women. We also run several LGBTQ+ trips, and we are trying to offer more BIPOC trips and even more specific Latino outdoors, AAPI. So we like to offer these groups, like I sort of said in the video, just to collect a group of people together where they don't feel like they have to prove that they are supposed to be there, and they can practice new skills and take risks in a place where they have things in common with other people. So we're really proud of these opportunities. People have said that they make a huge difference in their confidence level, and it's a great entry point into trail work. And it's really exciting to do these opportunities in a remote and exciting wilderness like Pasayten Wilderness. I think it means a lot to welcome people into a space and then hand them real work and hard work and say, not only do we want you here, but we think you're capable of doing something really challenging. So we're really grateful to have the opportunities to do these shared identity work parties in a place like Pasayten Wilderness, which is certainly not without risk. I think you can see in the background of one of these photos some blown over tents from an all women's work party. So certainly not without risk, but definitely make a big difference and impact on the people who get to go on them. So yeah, that is the end of WTA's work, but we're really grateful to share the stage with these people and get volunteers out there.
Thanks, Aaron. I'm Tim Van Meek with Backcountry Horsemen. I may slip up and say WTA at times. I used to work for WTA, but I want to give a shout out to Daryl Wallace over there, who is my advisor and eggs me on and reels me in and then eggs me on and reels me in. But Daryl's been a huge asset. He is part of the reason that I'm here. A couple years ago, he encouraged me to write a grant to American Trails. So he started this, so it's all his fault. But huge shout out to Daryl for bringing me on board and keeping me sort of in my lane. Another thing that Daryl has, me and technology are. Another thing that Daryl does is he's doing some Sawyer certs. So I think what you're seeing there is he's working with some of Sterling's crew members to do certs. So as all of our different groups have different skill sets that they can bring to the table, the more that we can share that, the better off we'll be. So I'm super happy that Daryl has taken on that. We have another great WBCH volunteer, Tony Carnes, that does saw certs, works really closely with Emily Snyder from WTA. So we're doing training of other agency folks and our partners out there, and that's how a lot of good work's going to get done. Another thing, I can get another shout out to Daryl. Daryl knows everyone. So he brought in, to make this project work, we needed PAC support from a lot of people. So Daryl hooks me up with Sue Padalford, who packed in a PNT crew from Wolfcran. So part of one of the things that I'm doing is I arrange PAC support. So that's part of my objective, besides getting crews in the field, is arranging PAC support. So I reach upon the BCH community to try and make this happen. Again, if we can get Sterling and PNT crews further in the backcountry quicker, then it enables them to do more work. So a great thing is that interaction. I'm really passionate about stock support. We need stock in the backcountry. That's how work is going to get done. So the more that we can have interaction between any crews that we work with, that they see who is hauling in the gear for them. It's if those people turn leaders out there in the trail community, maybe they will turn into funders. Maybe they'll turn into some folks that can help us build out our PAC program. Daryl knows everyone. So this is a volunteer that he got from, folks came from Oregon, so they came from remote locations to come out and do work in the Pasayten. It's an epically awesome area, but I believe that's Bert Morris who came up. So we're bringing folks from across the state. The Pasayten's a remote place, so it's hard to get people to come out and do day trips, as Alan back there might attest to with Meadow Valley Trails Collaborative. So multi-day trips is how you're going to get people to go out and do work out there. So we can bring people in across from the state to get way the heck out there. It's going to be a benefit. This is one of the hotshot crews that Jason brought out, and I want to give a shout out to some of the stuff he's doing is he's bringing hikers into his hotshots recently renamed Wolverine crews. So he's done a great job of bringing other users out there Yes, and by the way, I don't own a horse. I have a Subaru. So, but you know, I'm passionate about it. So Jason's done a great job of bringing other folks into our program. Doesn't matter who you are, but if you like getting some trail work done, his crews helped get that gear out there. So these crews could go far. This was actually last year up at, one crew went up Andrews and the other came down Remmel, right? So working together, bringing folks together, getting far out there, using stock to move those crews along, we're going to get a lot more work done. And yeah, there's just a ridiculous amount of trees out there, so a couple of volunteers going at it. Again, the value of pack stock, this is a Wolverine crew, just the fact that they're able to get out there, no different than Sterling's crews, they're able to go far. It also creates some flexibility. I want to give a shout out to Sterling's crews that had to change up locations this year a lot. Different log load, you need to be flexible. So at the last minute, we're changing locations. But Jason's crews have been able to flex and decide where to go when they're out there on trail in the moment. They change up their locations. A big concern of ours is bringing folks into the stock program. So this is a pretty cool picture. You have 3 generations of packers and 2 generations of stock. That's a big concern for us, is getting stock support. Not a lot of people have a 6 or 8 head string that they can get a 4 or 6 animal set. WTA needs 6 animals, PNT 4. So trying to bring folks along that pipeline of getting folks out there, and it starts with a little colt, right? I don't know stock, but a little colt, and then getting other users out there. So it's something we're trying to bring more folks into the program and move them along. This is a picture last year. Is Vince Stremler lives up in my neck of the woods. I'm up in Linden, and he drives out there, and he packed in one of Sterling's crew, and that's Tungsten?
Yep.
Right? Tungsten mine. Again, that's what, 20 miles up the trail, something like that. So it's a haul to get in there, but Vince was happy to do it. He has a lot of animals, and I think a great thing that Vince is doing is he's bringing his kids into it. So he's got 3 sons and getting them to do a lot of this pack support. This is last year's stats, and it's about the same this year. They supported 10 PNT crews, about 40 head were used. But that's pack stock, you still have the riders, but it's great that he's able to bring youth into the program. And for Vince, it was a personal thing. His dad had passed the year before, and that's who got him out on trail. And then to go back to that same location with his mom and 3 sons helped pack in, made it a pretty awesome event for him. We have another longtime stock user, the guy on the left there, Mike Buchert. This is up Cathedral driveway. Mike's first foray into the Pasayten when he was 9 months old on his mother's horse, and here he is pushing 80 and still getting out there packing in the crew. And that's one of your crews or Kristen's. They all blend together, but it was super cool. Mike is very inspired that young folks of varying backgrounds are coming out to make the work happen. And now Mike has brought his grandson into it. Clay Buchert is, his dad has the string, so that's an awesome thing. It's in his genes, it's in his DNA to go do the pack support, but I'm happy we're bringing some younger folks into the pack support program. Again, it's a big cost for doing pack support. It's a lot of money to get into stock. You got a $60,000, $70,000 rig, a $60,000, $70,000 trailer, $7,000 for a mule, a couple $1,000 maintenance. not a lot of folks have that money to get into it. So it's a big concern. So when money starts falling from the sky, all of our problems will be solved. I'll pass them around to some of these folks, but we're working it. We're trying to bring people along. Another group Daryl hooked me up with was the Veteran Community Response. They were out working on the Hidden Lakes Trail, and some of these folks, it was their first time doing trail work. These folks have seen a lot of stuff. They saw a lot of stuff in wars that they were at, and what an awesome place for them to come out and make a difference. And again, this was an awesome trip last year. They didn't know, they show up not knowing at all what they were doing. They hadn't done trail work, and they just learned what to do. So we're bringing, again, getting folks, these folks are from Spokane area, coming over, and now they're continuing. They haven't gone back to the Pasayten, but they're keep working with Daryl in other areas. Last year, another highlight for me was we had a bunch of students from Gonzaga came out. They're park and rec students that, go figure, had never been in the woods. I know, just whack. That they're not, park and rec folks have not spent time out in the woods. It's baffling. But we got them out there. So one of the first things we did, we brought them to the Forest Service's 8 Mile Ranch just to get them some interaction with stock, show them how it works. That's Paul from the Forest Service. And then they came out and did some trail work. It was maybe the highlight of last year. Here again, that Gonzaga class, Lake Creek Trail. I had them filtering water from the creek and drinking water from it. They'd never drank water that didn't come from a tap or a water bottle, which is just mind-boggling. Again, well, maybe just because I'm lucky, but super cool. Had them go down to the creek, pump some water. They weren't comfortable with that at first, but they were there, and they're busting chops and did an amazing amount of work on a really brushy trail. PCHW's efforts last year, 100 volunteers we had on, no, the entire project, Pasayten, 100 unique volunteers, 3,500 hours, and 52 miles of deferred maintenance. And this is last year's Wolverine hotshot crew at Bunker Hill. I guess the thing that impresses me about this trip, in order to get, so the Bunker Hill, you'll go 15, 20 miles up the, help me out here, Andrews?
Bunker Hill is
Larch.
Billy Goat.
Wilson and Billy Goat,
So,
30 miles.
so it took, to get Kathy 30 miles out there, it took a WTA crew going out there. It took Landon's Forest Service crew to go out there. PNT had to go out there. Then I think it was back to Forest Service, back to PNT, WTA. So a lot of folks put a lot of effort. So to get Kathy and company 30 miles out to Bunker Hill, it truly took all these folks working together. A huge shout out to Landon for organizing, putting all this together. It's like you can't have groups leapfrogging and bumping into each other. So the guy is amazing, does a ton of work. WTA has just brought out tons of folks, and PNT, or Sterling's efforts at getting PNT out there has just been phenomenal. So, does anybody have any questions?
It took all of you just to get Kathy out there?
So, yes, if we could clone Kathy, that would be awesome. So no,
Well, you like there were more women than men last year? This year was the other way around.
so it's, we're working it. We want everyone out there. So sure, we need lots of everyone. We need the Forest Service to be fully funded. Kathy's working on that for us, but it's not like there isn't challenges going forward, but I'm also just deal in reality and say that's the way it is. Obi-Wan.
Two quick things. One, if you remember the photo back quite a ways back there about Bruce Foreman, pack support. Bruce is 80. Mike Bucher, pushing 80. I want to be just like him when I grow up. Okay.
Yes.
My crew only eats filet, so.
Well, I think Aaron has spoke to that. It's the accessibility. So the more that you can and get that gear out there, a lot of first-time folks are going out there. I've worked with some NYC crews down in the GP this year, first time out on trail, but we're getting them out there because it's well-supported trips, it's super chunky projects, and we, you know, they make a difference out there. So giving the volunteers acknowledgement, but certainly.
Yeah, and just to speak to the power that BCHW has had to expand our accessibility is on the all-women's trip we did this year, we had, you know, several people who had never been backpacking before or hadn't gone in 20 years, and the fact that Kathy and crew could carry some of their food for them, really, I mean, it was the only way they could go. And I think, you know, also you carried a CPAP machine for someone to go out, and a series of batteries and chargers, and I think that's something we're gonna see more, and that meant the world for that volunteer, that, you know, she could go out and have that heavy thing carried for them. So it's huge, and it definitely, the excitement too of working with animals, it's a really cool thing. It's the highlight of my year and of several people, so a really cool opportunity.
Are the stock that you as like the Backcountry Horsemen work with, are they owned by people who volunteer with BCH, or is there like animals that are owned by the organization?
Oh, I wish. So that was my dream on the way down, is money just falls from the sky and I'd buy a ranch and I'd have stock. It'd be awesome. No, it's volunteers that have it. So Stremlers, Buchers, all of our volunteers, Darrow and stock, Kathy and stock, Kathy, other two Kathys.
So Backcountry Horsemen is just fully, there's no funding coming from.
So they're all volunteer driven. I'm the only paid volunteer, or a paid BCH staff member. I know, whack, and I don't have I drive a suit. Right, so we'll see how long this, if I be, that's my other boss back there is Dana, so my bosses, they're everywhere, but no, it's volunteer driven. We help them out, we give them stipends, we help pay some of their costs, because it's a huge lift for them, you know. It's, being a hiker, it was really easy for me, you know. I'd buy a pair of boots and whatever, get out on trail. It's like, it's a big cost, and that's a big concern, is bringing people in the stock program is just a huge financial lift. I mean, and Kathy was speaking to that up in the Methow. Who has money to go buy a ranch up in the Methow, you know? That ship has sailed, you know, so how do you bring folks into that is of a huge concern. So if anyone wants to donate just a few million, I'd love to have a ranch up in the Methow, but it's all volunteer driven for BCH. We try and help them out financially. Some of that comes from PNTA, kicks in some money. We kick in some RCO money. We get some money from RCO. The Legacy Grant helped pay for some money. So a combination of funds helps pay for the program.
For anybody who does have a little bit of a view into the less fun sort of financial side of things, it really reflects the teamwork that we do on the ground as well. Because, yeah, the PNTA will do our best to help you with mileage, because I know those stock trucks are gas guzzlers. Funds per head per day that they're out there, and then per diem for the folks. And then if you don't, when BCH goes out there, a good portion of those hours come back to us, and we need those hours as matches against our federal funding. So it really, we're trying to all scratch each other's backs, or whatever the metaphor is there. But it's really great, and this is just for the Pasayten. I know, you know, I've worked with packers in all 5 of my federal units, 2 national parks and 3 national forests, and you know, sometimes we had one packer drive up from Portland just to ride a horse and lead a mule over Hannigan Pass down into the Chilliwack River in North Cascades National Park, you know, just to bring fresh fruit and vegetables to the crew that had been out there for 4 days, 5 days. So really, even just one mule, they had all their tools dropped off by a helicopter earlier in the season, but just one folk coming up from Portland, So dedicated. It's not an easy trail to ride. He was going 18 miles each day. He just went in, spent the night, and came out. But our crews were super appreciative, and I think he really had a good time seeing the work that our crew is doing. So there are, Backcountry Horsemen is phenomenal across the state. They do a lot of fantastic work. But from the Olympic Peninsula all the way out to Eastern Washington, and I'm sure in Idaho and Montana as well, they support our crews, and we absolutely could not do it without them.
I have a question for Erin on the shared identity opportunities. Are you guys doing your own internal direct outreach to people, or do you partner with other organizations that already have those audiences?
Yeah, it's a mix. So we have done several partnerships with Latino Outdoors. That's been one of our most successful partnerships, where kind of bringing in the communities they already have. And then some of the others, though, come from sort of internal, where we already have the staff. I think the thing we're working on now is finding the leadership to expand, whether it's staff or volunteer leaders, to expand into different communities. And that's where those partnerships are most beneficial, is that we can share leadership.
Ben?
So, Pasayten is federally designated wilderness, which is to say the restrictions on motorized use. And I'm curious just to hear your thoughts about that in this context of massive amounts of high severity wildfires, thousands of downed trees. Does that feel like a hindrance? Does that feel like an ideal that still makes sense to uphold? Kind of open question, just what do you think?
I'm not going there. Really, Ben? So I've known Ben for like 15 years. That was probably a plant, but for myself, I work within what I can do. So it is non-motorized. That's what I'm going to do. So I do that within funding, the tools that I can use. That being said, BCH had an excavator going up in Olson Creek 2 months ago. If I could use an excavator, I'd use whatever tools I can. I did the same thing at WTA. I had gear packed in by ATVs, motorcycles. Whatever it's open to, I'm going to use it. So that's as far as I can take it. The rest is, I work within I stay in my lane.
Not a unique situation. Like in all of our wildernesses really in the West, we're faced with a lot of these similar issues. The Pasayten, I would say, is maybe a little more extreme. We work underneath the rules and regulations and laws that we're given. There's been different attempts to try to get access or exemptions, but none of those have been successful. So we continue going forward, and just doing what we can with what we're given.
Well, and just as an add-on to that, we do hire outfitters with sometimes on my name, and we don't stop, local outfitters that are out there that are using the trails we're clearing and want to try to keep the whole thing going also. And another FYI, the National Park Service uses chainsaws.
Helicopters.
So I'll go to the positive part of that. Yes, we did use an outfitter up there, Darwood Outfitting, helped with the all-women's trip, and they gave us a really good deal on it. It's the work that we're doing directly benefits them. I want to get our own stock program going, but if need be, I will use an outfitter. I'll do whatever it takes to get the work done. So, and relying on my friends here to my left to help that happen.
Are all of your multi-day trips the same, or are they 3, 5, 7, 10? They all range from?
Yeah, WTA we range quite a bit. I think sort of 3 to 8 is sort of the range. And for these more remote ones, I think we try to focus on longer trips, 5 to 7 days. So.
Both the Forest Service crews and the PNTA crews are going out on 8-day hitches.
clearing those trails and making it so that the rest of us can access those amazing places.
I think I can speak from it. It's our pleasure. I think all these folks like being out there. We like getting people out there. It's amazing what volunteers and Forest Service staff, it's amazing what can get done out there. It's hard work, but it's super rewarding. I can't do it anymore. I'm kind of beat to heck, but I can help make it happen.
I'd just like to add, I'm almost certainly preaching to the choir here, but just want to add, like, the partnership that we have, us as partners, nonprofit organizations, it's amazing that we can supplement the work that the Forest Service does and that they can invite us in to do some of that work, but we're also really reliant on Forest Service employees and Forest Service crews, and given the state of Forest Service budget right now, I just want to stress that the partnerships that we have are only one small piece, and we'll never replace the amount of work that the Forest Service does. And Pasayten Wilderness, I think, is a great example of that. So,
What's the rough number of volunteers to your paid staff, percentage-wise?
Yeah, I mean, we range from a 10 to 12 person crew, depending on who can hire, and probably 1 to 10, I don't even know. It depends on the year, but yeah. But our crew's out there the whole summer. You know, they're out every single hitch from May until the end of October. And it really is like picking up off of each other. Same with Sterling's crew. It takes all of us. And to be super clear, like, the seasonal workforce for the Forest Service is the backbone of the agency. They're so important that it's never to be underestimated. They do the best work out on the trails. So
I think it's about 60%. That's what I was trying. I kind of knew the answer, but I think the Forest Service does 60% of the work out with Pasayten. A lot of that seasonal. We should all be terrified of what's going on. You know, let's be honest. It's scary as heck what we start hearing. I want to be positive, but I don't see money falling from the sky. So, but huge shout out to Landon and his crew, and get out there and go recreate, come out and volunteer. You'll have a good time. It's ultra rewarding. There you go. Thank you.